Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stand With Us Connect Live. My name is Tamir, and I'm the Stand With Us Israel Associate Director. Thank you so much for joining us from around the world. It's truly exciting to connect with you. Today is actually a very exciting day as we're hosting our 20th show. It inspires me on a personal level to see thousands of views on these videos, so thank you so much for helping our community grow. As you may know, Stand With Us has been at the forefront of getting Israel education to people from around the world in multiple languages and in these challenging times. Stand With Us Connect is our way of connecting people around the world and bring Israel to your home. In a moment, I will introduce you to our special guest, but just before that, if you like our shows and what you're seeing online, you can book your own private session for your family, church, synagogue, or community, and we will deliver that session for you. So just go to www.standwithusconnect.com. I'm encouraging you today to ask questions during the show, so please post your questions in the comment section below, either on Facebook or Zoom, and don't forget to tell us your name and where you're from. And one last thing, if you're passionate about Israel and enjoy our programming, please consider supporting us and donating to our work at standwithus.com/donate. For today's session is called An Arab Defender of Israel. It is a special and intimate conversation with our guest today, a dear friend of Israel, Stand With Us, and myself, Yoseph Haddad. Yosef, how are you today?
Hi, Tamir, how are you?
Great. So let me introduce you first. Yoseph Haddad is an Israeli Arab. He is 33 years old and the co-founder and director of the nonprofit organization, Together We Vouch for Each Other. This organization was founded in 2018 by a group of young Israeli Arabs, Christians, Muslims, Bedouin, and Jews who felt determined to bring about change in the Arab sector of Israeli society. Born in Haifa, second son of 4 children, he moved with his family to Nazareth. Yosef served in the Israeli army and participated in the Second Lebanese War. Yosef speaks before many audiences, especially students, and he combats organizations that boycott Israel. And he shares his story to educate about Israel and to bring the desired change. Yosef, are you feeling okay?
I'm feeling great.
Great. So I'm very excited to have you with us today. I want to start with my personal question. Look, you're an Israeli Arab. Why have you decided to volunteer to the army, to the IDF? What was the reason for that?
All right. So to be honest with you, to answer this question, we need to go back to my childhood. And it is actually in 2 aspects. One, my family, and the second one, my friends, which in a way, it was actually the Israeli society. Because I was born in Haifa. And as you know, Haifa is the biggest mixed city in Israel. And then I was raised in Nazareth, and Nazareth is the biggest Arabic city in Israel. But surrounding Nazareth, you have, back then, it's Nazareth Elite, which is today Nofa Galil, and Afula and Migdal Emek. Which means my surrounding was with all the sectors of Israel. I had the Jewish friends, I had Christian friends, Muslim friends, Druze friends, and this is actually the way I grew up. So if we take a look at both of my family and my friends, I was educated on being with everyone. And I used to play, despite I grew up in Nazareth, I remember I used to finish my school, running home, doing my homework as fast as I can, and then just the station to take the bus to Haifa. It was about just 1 minute walking from my home. I would go there, take the bus, and right away go to Haifa. Now back then it was 25 minutes by bus. Today it's 25 hours, but that's because of the traffic. But different story. Anyway, so I would go to Haifa and I would go and play football with my friends in Kiryat Eliezer neighborhood. And all the friends were from all sectors, and that's how we grew up. So I go back home, and then my parents would teach me about how it's important to be part of this society, to give, and always to respect people. So combining all this together, and you'd arrive to the conclusion that when I arrived to the age of 18, I asked myself why I am not in the army. Now, my Druze friend and my Jewish friend are obligated to serve, but me as an Arab, I'm not obligated. I know, I understand why, but still I ask the questions, because last time I checked, it is the IDF, not the JDF. It's not a Jewish Defense Force, it's an Israeli Defense Force. and I'm part of Israel, and this is my country as well. So joining the army and serving in the Golani Brigade, it was for me something that a normal thing to do. That's how I looked at it, and that's
Can I
when I
ask you a
decided
question
to.
just before you continue with their IDF story?
Yeah.
So how did your surroundings react, your friends, your family, to the fact that you've started to serve in the army and drafted to the Israel Defense Forces, as you say you did?
You know, even today, with the journey and the work that I do with my organization and in my life, without the support of my family, it's hard. Um, Obviously, I would have done it anyway, but it would be harder. And because of their support, because of the fact that my family is behind me, giving me a lot of power and energy, it is something that I'm able to do. By the way, I can tell you that I have friends that they want to do the same thing, but their families are not so supportive. That's why they give up. So it is really important for me. I can tell you one of my best supporters is my little sister. She shares everything I do. She wants to participate in our activities. And when you see your sister like this, it fills you with hope and energy, and gives you the all the power that you need. So my family is something that I will appreciate, and I love them so much. Again, without them, it would have been harder and harder. As for my friends back then, when I joined the army, the opinion were split. Uh, but I can tell you, well, I'll tell you like this. In a way, the opinions were split. Some of them said you're doing something not right. It's terrible, terrible decision. And other would say, you know what, go for it. I wish I had the power to do the same thing as you. Looking forward and looking backward, sorry, when I speak with my friends today, they would say, or those who told me that it's a wrong decision, today they tell me that, you know what, maybe now, 15, 16 years later, I would have had the courage to do the same thing like you back then. So this is how friends and family got looked at it this way.
I have to say, it inspired me to hear your story for the first time. I'm sure it inspired many others, Jews and non-Jews, when they heard your story and saw what you did for your country. So thank you. And let's get back to your IDF story and the story about joining the Golani Brigade.
Yeah, so, well, to be honest with you, it was a quite amusing story because, I'm an Israeli Arab. I don't have to serve in the army. And so I give a call to the officer, the recruiting officer in Tiberias. I would say, hi, my name is Yoseph Haddad, and I want to volunteer for the army, but I have a condition. I'm willing to volunteer only if you promise me I'm going to be in the Golani Brigade. Now, if you ask me why I wanted Golani, it's because, one, I think, and it is the best brigade in the IDF, fighting brigade in the IDF, and second, because I'm a bit crazy. So most of the crazy people go to Golani as well. So the recruiting officer would tell me, Yusuf, listen, I don't know what do you think how it works here, but the IDF is not a grocery shop. You cannot pick what you want and order what you want. You will get what we give you. And I said, hey, I don't have to volunteer. I will go to South America. He said, all right, let us check a few things and we'll get back to you. And, definitely a few days later, they called me and they said, listen, if you pass all the exams, everything, you're in. We will let you be in the Golani Brigade. And it did happen. And you know what? I want to share with you a story because when I said IDF, and on purpose I choose the words IDF, and I said that the IDF stands for Israel Defense Force, and not the JDF, because when I was recruited at the 15th of November 2003, 1 month before I was supposed to start my service, at the 4th of October 2003, a terrible event happened here in Israel when a suicide female bomber came to the Maxim restaurant in Haifa, and she blew up the restaurant. Ended up killing 17 civilians. 4 of those civilians were Israeli Arabs. You gotta understand, and you gotta look at try to see my point of view. In a month, I'm supposed to start my service, And then a lot of people would talk about why you're going to the IDF. And say, this is why. Terrorism doesn't really care if you're Arab or Jew. As long as you're Israeli, you are a target to them. And when I'm going to the IDF, I'm going to serve and I'm going to defend my country, I'm defending everyone, Arab and Jews. And I'm going to jump, just like for 1 minute, I'm going to jump 3 years later. And 3 years later, at August 2006, I participated in the Second Lebanese War. In the Second Lebanon War, 44 civilians killed by rockets from Hezbollah organization, the terrorist organization. 19 of those civilians were Israeli Arabs. When I was in Lebanon, when I fought in Lebanon, I fought for my society, the Jewish and the Arab Israeli society. I fought for my country. And as I said, 19 civilians, Arab Israelis, were killed from Hezbollah. On my city, Nazareth, two children, two babies actually, not children even, two babies were killed by those rockets, and other were injured. So again, for me, it was the right decision to do, and I would do it again and again. And I would advise anyone who wants to do that as well.
Okay, thank you. And can you tell us more about your Army service? How was it to be drafted in this Golani Brigade? How was your training? What did you do actually in your service?
Yeah, so when I started my service, a lot of people asked me, so how was it as an Israeli Arab? You went to Golani, and what? How did they look at you? And I can promise you, and I can tell you, at the first, it's not even minute, less than a minute, when my foot stepped in the Golani Brigade, and I met my friends. It's actually become family. Back then, it was at the first minute it was friends, but later they become just like a family. And I can tell you that the most amazing thing is that I was accepted immediately, and I didn't get the feeling that I'm different or getting treated different. You know what? Actually, maybe I was getting treated different, but in a way that everybody was so excited and so happy to see me, and maybe they were even over, welcoming. And I felt home from the first minute, really. And later in my service, I become a commander. Now, back then, it was something huge, because in 2003, it's not like today. Today, we have more and more Israeli Arabs volunteering to the IDF. But back then, I was among the few, especially among the few that were actually commander. And you know what? I want to say this sentence, as it is, because it's very important for me when people talk about Israel and Israel being an apartheid state. And I would say, me, as an Israeli Arab commander in the IDF, and I was commander on Jewish soldiers. I am the Arab who is a commander and giving commands for Jewish soldiers. And I said it like this in purpose, like so obvious, to let everyone understand how even, and not even, like, an Israeli Arab can become a commander in the IDF, and he can command Jewish soldiers, and he become even more than just a commander, even lieutenant, and more and more and more. And a lot of people would ask me, really? So there is Arab in the IDF, and you were a commander? The lack of information about us, it's something unbelievable. And at the same time, I would tell anyone who is listening to this conversation, if anyone comes at you and say, hey, Israel is an apartheid state, just give them the simple example. Well, you know what? I know this guy who was an Arab. He is an Arab Israeli. He was a commander, and he commanded over Jewish soldiers. Show me in what dictionary it's apartheid. So this is like a simple point of view that I wanted to give and talk about, because it's really important to me. And later in my service, I was actually in the south borders and in the north borders. And just 2 months before I was supposed to finish my service and now go to South America, I participated in the Second Lebanese War. Unfortunately, I was injured badly just 2 days before ceasefire on the 10th of August 2006. The ceasefire was on the 12th of August 2006.
So can we just stop here for a second for the sake of our viewers here who want to understand more? So we're talking about 2006, the Second Lebanese War, where barrages of rockets were fired at Israeli homes and towns all across the northern border and even further from that. And you were called upon to enter Lebanon and to dismantle these rockets that were launched. Am I correct?
Definitely correct, but we must also remind and give the information that Hezbollah, first of all, kidnapped our soldiers, our reserves and duty soldiers. So that's how actually it started, all the war. So we understood that the Second Lebanon War happened because of an attack of a terrorist organization, not Israel. Because again, there is still a lot of people that I meet and they think that Israel started the war. Not at all. And this is also good and important information to talk about. We went inside not only to dismantle the missiles, but also to try and look for our soldiers, our kidnapped soldiers. That was also another priority that we aimed and target. Everybody know that unfortunately at this specific mission we didn't succeed. But what it's important for me to understand, because in the media, in the social media, everybody is talking about that. Some of them even called it like we lost the war. Now listen to me carefully, okay? We didn't lose the war. It was a tough, very tough war indeed. But every battle we went with those terrorists, we won. We demolished them. And in some points, you could have seen them running like rabbits. So the fact that I heard on the news and some people talking about Israel losing this war, it's completely hideous. Uh, we were there. We fought with all what we have. And despite the conditions, and despite the fact that it was very hard, we still managed to, with our spirit, and love to each other as soldiers and as unit, we managed to literally win every battle. And this is for me, Tamir, a really good chance to talk about the true hero of this war. So with your permission, I would like to talk about my friends and commanders. Usually a lot of people would come to me after I reveal my story and they say, Yosef, you are a hero. And I would look at them and say, you know what? First of all, thank you, but I don't think I'm a hero. And let me tell you who is the real hero. And then I would start talking about, for instance, my friends who are injured badly. And when we came to evacuate them, I came to one of the soldiers and he looks at me and he's badly injured, okay? And he looks at me and he says, don't treat me. First help my friend. And he was also injured badly. So we found ourselves moving from one to another because they don't want to get the treatment first. They want his friend to get the treatment first. Some of them lost their lives because of the fact that we didn't manage to bring them back to Israel on time because of the situation. So when we talk about heroes, those are the heroes. A hero for me is my commander, Rui Klein. Rui Klein, for those who don't know, he jumped on a grenade to save his crew. Um, he jumped on a grenade while he's shouting Shema Israel. I mean, just try to understand. You throw the grenade, you have about 4 seconds until it explodes, plus minus. Until it lands, it means you have less than 1-2 seconds, maybe, once it got thrown towards you. So in a split of a second, Roy Klein had to take a choice and jump on that grenade, cover it to save his crew. That's a hero for me. And by the way, the name of the organization, which we will talk about it later, it's part of a conversation. It's a big part of a conversation that I had with Roy Klein a year before the war, which is quite amazing because I didn't really know the meaning of that sentence. Actually, I knew the meaning, but I didn't really know how much it's going to affect my life. That sentence that he told me back then, I promise we will talk about it. I don't want to reveal it right now. I will say it when we talk about what I'm doing today. So for me, yeah, those are the true heroes that that I will ever forever treasure. And and as for me, I was injured on the 10th of August 2006 when Hezbollah decided to shoot a missile towards me, an anti-tank missile from it was a Coronate. Lucky for me, it didn't really hit me, but it just bypassed me and hit a wall that was very close to me. And from the explosion, I flew in the air and I landed on my belly. Now, I can tell you that I understood that I was injured. I understood that my body, something happened to my body because I feel the pain and I feel the blood coming from my face. But I promise you that the first thought that I had in my mind, it was what I'm going to tell my mom now, because she told me, "Don't you dare get injured in the war." So that was like the first thought. I'm lying in Binjbel, okay, in Binjbel village, after I got shot by an anti-tank missile, and the first thought was, what I'm going to tell my mom. So I turned on my back and I understood that my foot was cut off. I started shouting, "My foot was cut off! My foot was cut off!" And yeah, and then my friends evacuated me. They give me the first treatment, and then straight to the chopper. And then I arrived to Nahariya Hospital, and over there I did my surgeries. I can tell you that I will never forget. I will never forget the soldiers, the friends, the soldiers that carried me on the stretcher, and the Hezbollah was waiting for us. So while they were evacuating me, they still shot up towards us RPGs and more missiles. So again, brave people, brave soldiers. So yeah, that was a quite crazy experience for me during the war.
Thank you very much, Yosef, for sharing these details. It inspires, I'm sure, many people who are listening to this conversation. And I actually want to mention quite a few are listening today, more than hundreds. I think we're in the thousands already. We have people from Tanzania, from Norway, from the US, from Canada. We have Astrid from Norway. We have David from Canada and people from Israel sharing. Thank you for your service and courage. Penny Twiley and Pina Esther, thank you for defending your country. This is so touching. So thank you for all of you who are tuning in today. And we will pick up on questions from the audience in a second. I want to start by asking you now, after hearing in your story in depth, to share with us today about your travels around the world speaking about Israel, because that's unique as well. You defended Israel with passion in the IDF, and now you're defending Israel in a different battlefield, a public diplomacy battlefield.
I've got to be honest with you. A lot of people ask me about my what I'm doing today and how actually why after the war I didn't just disconnect myself and continued with my life. And I would tell them, you know what? My country never left me after I was injured. And you know what? This is part of my feelings towards my. I mean, not only just towards my country. I think in a way you look at it as an IDF disabled veteran. Uh, if you compare that to any other army in the world or to any other country in the world, Israel is number one in treating their wounded soldiers. That's at least how I look at it. I'm sure there are stories, also negative stories, but in general, the total way to look at it, it's in a positive way. And during my rehabilitation, I was never left alone. Not not from my country, not from the Ministry of Defense, and the doctors, hospitals, and part of the rehabilitation. I have to like give you a small story about this. The fact that it made me possible to actually walk again and do what I'm doing today is the fact of the period of time of rehabilitation. Because while I was in rehabilitation, I had actually the possibility to recover, the possibility to rehab. And you must understand, if I'm in the hospital, then I have the best doctors. If I went, for instance, we have for us BeYachad, and I don't know if people know about BeYachad, but BeYachad it's a big home for us, for the wounded soldiers, where we can rehabilitate. We have a lot of things to do there to clear your mind and actually to give you the possibility to move on and to pass this. So all this together, what the country gives you in terms of medical things, in terms of BeYachad things, this is something that I will never forget. And that's actually, because of that, it gives me more and more power to, I fought as a soldier in a war, and now as a civilian, I'm fighting as a citizen of my country, of Israel, I'm fighting it, but a different battle. And this different battle is quite unique because in a way, it's also not easy. It's very hard. We are seeing the attacks that we're having by the anti-Israeli organization all over the world. And you know what? When I looked at it for years, I tried to, just take care of myself in a way that I went and traveled, opened my own business, studied. But I reached a level, Tamir, where I said enough is enough, and we need to do something about it. And from that point, which was exactly about 3 years ago, we founded the organization Together Vouch for Each Other, which is the
Joseph,
Arabic.
just before that, because I'm sure that's a solution for a problem. Can we go in depth and discuss the problem? Can you give me one example of an anti-Israel activity or something that you have experienced that you said to yourself, okay, I have to do something? What was that moment or event that instigated that need to launch something in Israel?
So there was a war. We had ongoing things with Gaza. We all know that Hamas is another terrorist organization besides Hezbollah, and we know Hamas that the easiest thing that Hamas do is just launch hundreds of rockets towards Israel, trying to kill civilians, Israelis, innocent people, and Israel, who picks, by the map, like just where to strike Hezbollah, Hamas targets, and yet around the world, especially, well, not especially, in the Arab world and in Europe and in the United States, they would go and they would say, you know what? We see the result, and the result is simple. In Israel, 0 casualties. In Palestine, 10, 20, 30 people dead. So the way everybody is talking about it, that Israel is killing babies, Israel is killing innocent people, and hey, Hamas is not killing anyone. But I couldn't stand seeing something like this because everybody knows, here in Israel, everybody knows the truth. Everybody knows that Israel is trying to defend their people, their citizens, okay? And that's why we have the Iron Dome. And that's why we have 0. Otherwise, imagine if we didn't have the Iron Dome. The casualties would be not hundreds, thousands. Just a few months ago, 400 rockets within 2 hours. 400 rockets. What happened then if we didn't have the Iron Dome? Would that would be okay then? No, we are not waiting for people to get killed, Israeli people to get killed, to say, now it's okay. Now it's okay to strike Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. And when I saw this was a point for me where I said, someone needs to do something about it, especially in the Arab, media, social media as well, because you see on Facebook people talking so many misleading conceptions and false accusations about Israel. And one of the points that I talk about as well is children. People talking about Israel killing children. I've seen it in my own eyes where Hamas will take a child, okay, and put him close to a launcher, a bomb, a missile launcher. Just when Israel strikes, it killed the baby, and this way we can say, Israel killed the babies. This is something unacceptable. I saw it in my own eyes. And when I saw this, I realized how it's important to go and talk about it especially from the point of view of a minority, of an Arab Israeli. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian, Muslim, Druze, or Bedouin. It is matter if you're an Arab or a Jew, because if you are an Arab, it has a different point of view. And I've seen it through my all tours around the world in the last 2 years. So this kind of example gave me, well, you know what? I said stop. That's it. Enough is enough. It's time to go and do something about it. And you know, I've talked about the point of view from an Arab perspective, and why it's actually, in a way, it's, well, in the eyes of other people who are not exactly, they don't know really about Israel, or still didn't made up their minds whether they are pro-Israelis or anti-Israelis. And I can give you a short story about a lecture that I did in Harvard University. And when I came to that lecture, I asked the professor, don't say anything about me. Don't represent me. Don't present me. Don't do anything. Just say that I'm from Israel, and that's it. He said, are you sure? He said, don't say even my name. Just say that I'm from Israel. I start the lecture. I talked in front of political science students and professors. And I had a purpose why I'm doing this. And it actually worked, because 25 minutes later, after I started my lecture, a student got up and raised his hand like this and said, you know what? You've been talking for 25 minutes. And for me, it's obvious. It's obvious that you defend Israel like this. I expect you, as a Jewish, to defend Israel. I swear to you, Tamir, with my most Arabic accent, I looked at him and I said, my name is Yoseph Haddad and I'm an Israeli Arab. You could have dropped a feather and you could listen the feather slammed on the ground while it's literally like that. And then 5-10 seconds later, we would hear the commotion that everybody is talking. Oh my God, 25 minutes he's been talking. And now it's a complete different point of view, because this came from an Israeli Arab, not from a Jewish. Later, after that, I got so many comments, and people were shocked, and you could see that then it changed their opinion and their review about Israel. So that's why I felt the need and the importance of us being there. And you know, one last thing before we continue this discussion. At that point, I must tell you that people respect what I have to say because I give the whole pictures. I'm not here to draw fantasy. You know, there's no perfect society. I wish there was. But the way they speak about Israel and they tell about Israel, it's way, way far, far away from the truth. And when I speak about Israel, I say the whole truth and I show the facts. And the whole truth, including me, criticize my country as well in some matters. And I do that. That's why they respect it. And that's why they believe, and I'm reliable to them. And that's why I ask anyone who speaks about Israel, true people, don't be afraid to say the bad things that we have. We can fix it if we want, if we manage together. That's what we are trying as well to do. But we have so many good things in this country. Okay, we can present that. And if someone presents the bad things, you know, don't be afraid of it. Talk about it. Eventually, I didn't see until now any perfect society in that world. Also us. So it's okay.
Thank you for that answer, Yosef. We have more people tuning in from Australia, France, Russia, the UK. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. We have a comment from Colin Wilkinson saying, thank you for what you're doing. Vered Oren, Kol Kavod Yosef, you set a wonderful example. Ellen Miniker saying, no question, just to thank you for all the things that you did. I want to go back to actually a few of our viewers are asking this question about different anti-Israel activities that were offensive towards you when you spoke about Israel around the world. Can you share a little bit about that? Because you've started when you said that you're against the BDS movement, and I've introduced you as such. Can you explain more about that as well?
I wanna tell you that I think I am one of the few, if not the only Arab who got anti-Semitic attack on him as an Arab. I was in France actually, And I was honored to be invited to speak with the Muslim community over there. Muslim community asked me to come and talk about it. And on the flyers that they posted and they put around the streets and their neighborhood, when I arrived to the day to come and lecture to them, unfortunately I saw the swastika cross, and they put in a different flyer a target on mark on my forehead. So it was very intense. And when I came inside, they tried to blow the lecture, and to make any effort for me not to speak. I was very happy that eventually I did talk to leaders and people from the Muslim community in Paris. It was quite an amazing experience, and a crazy experience at the same time, because you should have seen those anti-Israeli, the hatred in their eyes. And I say that the hatred is coming from a place of ignorance, because they don't know. Some of the people that were in that lecture, the first thought or idea about me and Israel was the same as them, only they didn't translate it to violent, which I still respect because they didn't go for violent. But what I'm trying to say is that during the lecture, I would have seen how they were more calm and more acceptable. And then I'm not gonna say that I changed completely their minds, but definitely shook something that managed to make them ask questions and not be like this, only anti-Israeli, no, they start asking hard questions and important questions. And I can tell you that after that lecture, the community, the leaders of the Muslim community in Paris were supposed to come to Israel as a guest from our organization. Unfortunately, with everything happened since the coronavirus back in February, it stopped it. But we are going to do that, and this is going to be huge, bringing a Muslim leaders from the Muslim community in Paris to Israel to really see what's Israel. Imagine this: they're going to go back to France, back to their community, and they're going to talk about what really is going on, because for them, they didn't see that before like this until I come and speak and talk to them. So this was one of the most amazing experience that I had with anti-Israelis, and then become sort of okay, we want to explore that more and more. And lately, I actually just about, I think, on March, which is 2 months ago, I was in South Africa, and I've experienced over there nice anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic experience with some of the people over there. But I think the highlight was with the debate with the BDS leader over there. But I'm happy to tell you that, with all modesty, of course, okay, that I've crushed him during that debate, and it was really good point, a good TV show, because you know what, Tamir, back then this specific TV channel in Africa wouldn't give pro-Israelis a lot of time, TV time, and usually they would give the BDS activists to go and talk there. And for the first time, there was a debate between me and Mohammed Desai, which is the leader of the BDS. And he started, of course, lying as usual. Only this time, he didn't consider that I'm going to expose his lies, because usually he talks and nobody talk to him back and debate him. So he's used to lie and, get out with it. This time I was there, I exposed his immediate lies. And in a way, I have to be honest with you, I was aggressive with him. But this is something that we need to do. This is something that we have to do. We don't have anything to hide. Being more in a defense way, for me, unfortunately, I'm saying that, yeah, it shows about a lack of confidence on what Israel is. and going on an attack and being aggressive with these kind of organization, for me, this is the solution. And I've actually seen that it works, because at the end of the show, one of the Jewish leaders from the Jewish community, she got a phone call from the members of the EFF, a political party in South Africa. They are anti-Israeli. Their chairman is called the South African Hitler, just to understand the EFF. And they asked specifically that I come and talk to them because of the interview. And because finally we exposed the BDS and their lies, and someone stood up to those activists. And when I came,
Yosef, with your permission, tap onto that and talk about South Africa, because whenever Stand With Us sends delegates to Apartheid Week in South Africa to counter that, and I know you've been there at least this year alone, the racism issue comes up. And I'm interested in your thoughts about how should we view Israel compared to other nations when we talk about racism? How do you answer these people who are accusing Israel of being a racist country?
First of all, we have racism in Israel. We cannot deny that. Okay? But at the same time, show me one country, unfortunately again, that doesn't have racism. Right? I've seen it in South Africa between South Africans themselves. I've seen it in the United States. I've seen it in Europe. So we do have. Okay? Now, when we put this when we say that in that way, people understand that we are not lying. We're not going to say Israel doesn't have any racism. We do have. I felt it in myself as well. Okay? But the racism is unfortunately, towards a lot of sectors, not only Arab sectors. It could be towards an Ethiopian community. It could be between the Ashkenaz and Mizrach. So it's there. But the way that I approach this, eventually if we go and take a look at the general point, the general picture, anyone from the Arab community, okay, from the Arab society, can become anything he wants. You can become the chairman of the biggest bank in Israel. And I'm not saying that because maybe one day it will happen. These days, the chairman of the biggest bank in Israel, Bank Leumi, his name is Sam al-Hajj Yahya. He's an Arab Muslim, biggest bank in Israel. Okay? You can become the captain of the national football team. Bebras Natchon, he's a Muslim. You can become a supreme judge. We have. You know what? Actually, one of our judges in the Arab society sent our president to jail. Okay? So in terms of racism, when we talk about it, when we say that we have, but look at this and look at that, okay? And in general, the absolute majority of the Israeli society, Jewish and Arab, they are not racist, okay? The absolute majority. Unfortunately, we have the extremists. They are louder, they are violent, okay? But I believe eventually together, we will manage to silence them up, and we manage to show the true face of our society. But I want to add to racism also the idea of an apartheid country. And I've said that in different occasions. Comparing the South African apartheid to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is actually doing injustice to the real apartheid that happened to the black community in South Africa. Injustice. And this message was very important for me to pass it on to the South African people while I was there. And I'm really happy to say that when I spoke about it, you would see the people laying back like this on their chair, and they think about what I'm saying. Because there's nothing to compare between those two, okay? And the fact that we are actually discussing Israel being apartheid is we are serving their cause. And the fact that we are afraid to say the sentence that comparing the South African apartheid to the Israeli Palestinian conflict, for them, who the hell are you to say that? Yes, no, I'm an Israeli. I'm an Israeli. I know. I studied what is apartheid. We don't have apartheid in Israel. It's far away from being that. And we don't need to be apologetic, you know? No. We need to be strong and firm about it. Being that, doing that, it will start making people think and realize that there's nothing to compare about.
Thank you, Yosef. Such a powerful message. I want to take this opportunity and thank everyone who's tuning in from around the world. We have Kirsten Anderson from Sweden saying hello, Elon Rappaport from Australia, and many others who are with us today. So thank you. Aaron Selkov is asking us now, have you ever felt targeted by the Palestinian Authority or any Arab groups? And you know, I'm listening to you now, and this is a powerful message that is not common to hear around Israel or internationally. So how are you feeling, and are you targeted by these groups?
I've been targeted by both sides. What do I mean? You know, a lot of people ask me, is your path the right path? Are you doing the right things? And I would answer, when I realized that the extremists from this side and the extremists from this side are literally cooperating against me and my organization, then I understood, not then, but it actually gave me more confidence to understand that I'm on the right way. I'm targeted by Arab extremists, and I'm targeted by Jewish extremists. And I'm targeted by them because we are bringing something that it's here for years and years, but nobody is talking about it. Nobody is, you know, everybody is trying to shut it up, okay? Because when I go and speak about it in the Arab world and in the Arab Israeli society, what my organization, what I am not trying to prove, but actually proving, is the absolute majority of the Jewish society want the Arab Israelis to be an integral part of the country, of the society. And for those extremists, it's a big no-no. You know, proving that the Jewish people, the Jewish society here in Israel want that, it's a big no-no for them because it will demolish their agenda. And for the Jewish extremists, for me to prove to them that the absolute majority of the Israeli Arabs wants to be part of the society, for them, it ruins their agenda that every Arab wants to kill the Jew or to be in Palestine. You know, in fact, Amir, let me just give you a simple statistical information from just 3 weeks ago, actually. They asked Israeli Arabs, how do you define yourself? More than 77% define themselves either as Israelis or Arab Israelis. Only 7% define themselves as Palestinians. Okay, this is something that I know. This is something that I call Israelization, especially in the young generation that is growing up here. Okay, so being targeted by them, I know that I'm in the right way. Guys, trust me, I'm getting threat messages from here until, you know what, until Australia. Because there's not even one day where I wake up in the morning and there's no threat message telling me stop doing what I'm doing. But I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid because, well, one, if Hezbollah anti-tank missile didn't stop me, so maybe I don't think anyone can stop me now. I'm obviously joking, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm not afraid because I think there is a point where we say enough, and enough is enough. And this is the point where we want to do some change. And I wish and I hope, and I'm seeing it during the journey in the last 2 years, that Jewish and Arab Israelis are joining our journey and wanting to be part of it. So I'm very happy and excited about it.
Thank you, Yosef. I want to ask you something about that, but just before, Alana Miners just wrote, this should be mandatory watching in all universities. Thank you, Alana. I want to ask you the $1 million question that I'm getting now from different people. Yosef, and I know you're not a politician, but I'm asking this to you now. Is peace possible?
100% yes. But I want to tell you something that people are not considering. The solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict comes from the Israeli Arabs. It is within the Israeli Arabs. We are the one who holds the solution. It's us. Everybody thinks it's the United States. Everybody thinks it's the Jewish Israeli people, maybe the Jewish community around the world, maybe the Palestinians, maybe the Arab League. Listen to me carefully. The Israeli Arabs are the ones that will be responsible of bringing peace to our country. And it's simple. Because once, and this is my vision and my way, and that's the path that we are trying to go through, once we are fully integrated, once we are in higher positions, in official offices, once we are real part of the Israeli society, where we can affect, reflect, and actually manage to be an important role in any aspect, we are the one, as Arab Israelis, and proud to be Israelis, this is a very important message, huh? We are the one that would come and will say to the Palestinian Authority and people, now it's the time for peace. Let's sit down. That's how I see it.
Okay, so we're concluding this live show soon. I have one last question for you, Yosef. Israel just celebrated 72 years since independence. What is your dream for the next 72 years for Israel?
Well, I wish that, for us to be as one Israeli society, where I will stop using the definition Israeli Arabs or Israeli Jews, and I would just say Israel, Israelis. I want to clarify myself because a lot of people, when I say that, they say, so what do you want to mix between? No, I want everyone to keep their traditions, to keep their culture. Everyone to keep their culture and tradition. But as we've seen, by the way, in the last 2 months, especially because of the corona pandemic, we've seen how Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews are working together. And for the first time, I felt there is no barrier. There is no really, it doesn't really matter if you're an Arab or a Jewish. You know, we are Israelis. And I felt it. We've seen how doctors are together, the police departments, all the defense forces, and everything, everyone, and people. We would see people going, helping each other. And you've seen the true meaning of being part of the Israeli society. And if I want to wish something for the next 70 years to happen, it's this: to just be one big society and happy that in our country, and we have an amazing country, guys. We have really an amazing country. We do have problems, we do, but together, together, we can solve these problems. I really believe in that. As one society, Israel.
Yoseph Haddad, thank you so much. But before I thank you properly, I want to thank our audience. We're getting a peak number of comments on our Facebook live stream at the moment. I think it's the most comments we've got on a live show in the last month or so. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. And special thanks to Yoseph Haddad, to you, for this personal and unique conversation, for Stand With Us Connect. Thank you for supporting our mission to educate about Israel around the world. And just thank you for being here with us today.
Tamir, I would like, first of all, to thank you. It is a pleasure and honor for me to participate in this live show, to be, with Stand With Us. It's a very big pleasure for me as well, an honor. And obviously, hope to do more and more things together in the future. And we will do, we've done before things, and hopefully that we will do in the future. And I would like to say to everyone, that you are more than welcome to come to my Facebook page. You can ask all the questions you want. I promise I will answer all of them. I usually answer all the questions, and I will not run away from any questions, even if they are very, very tough and hard. So you're more than welcome to send me those questions. And if there's questions that you send, Stand With Us, gladly Stand With Us can send it to me. I will answer them as well. So it was absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for hosting me here. I love it. It was really, really amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Yosef. So just before we wrap, I want to tell everyone again, if you love the work Stand With Us does, you can donate and support us however you like and whatever you can at standwithus.com/donate. If you enjoyed this live stream, you can book a private session for your group via www.standwithusconnect.com. And you won't want to miss this. We're having another show on Thursday on Stand With Us Connect called A Light Unto the Nations, Israel's life-saving aid in the face of global crisis. We will be hosting Rachel Wallace from Israel. Our full program is on standwithusconnect.com, and we look forward to seeing you again. If you can't come to Israel, we'll do our best to bring Israel to you. My name is Tamir Oren from Israel, from Stand With Us Connect. Shalom, and we'll see you soon.